Hello everyone, Andrew here, and today we are going to be talking about Nintendo Power. Now I'm sure, as a whole bunch of people have unfortunately heard, just last week Nintendo Power announced that they will be discontinuing the magazine later on this year, which really is unfortunate because, I mean, Nintendo Power is one of those magazines where if you grew up with video games, you definitely read Nintendo Power a few times because it really was a great way to learn about what new games were coming out and get tips and stuff like that. Before the internet existed. So I've always wanted to make a video about Nintendo Power because anyone who's watched my room tour or anything like that will know I actually have quite a decent collection of them, ranging from some of the oldest ones like this one here, all of the way to some of the newest ones like this one. So what we are going to do is we're going to look at my oldest and newest versions, issues of Nintendo Power, and just kind of see what sections were there in the beginning and which ones were taken out later on, and then just kind of compare how what Nintendo Power was like from back in its earlier days to its later days. So overall, we're probably going to look at about 10 issues of Nintendo Power or something like that, and we're really going to kind of see what changed from the beginning to later on, and maybe why not as many people read it as they did in the beginning in the later years. Now, a whole bunch of people are probably just thinking like, of course, the internet and stuff made it a lot harder for magazines to make a profit and stuff like that. But looking through things, I think there's a few other reasons too why Nintendo Power kind of lost its charm and stuff like that. So yeah, like I said, I have a whole bunch of issues just kind of stacked up over here, and what we're going to do is we're just going to look through, and we're going to see just how different things became as the magazine went on. Now this video is probably going to be pretty long, so it might be broken up into two parts. I might look through half of them in one part, and half of them in the other, if I really start to ramble on. But yeah, without further ado, let's start talking about Nintendo Power. So like I said, this is the oldest issue I have right here. Now this is actually the 7th issue ever produced, and back then, it was actually a bi-monthly thing, so I don't know if you're able to see it there, but let's see if I can focus this. Lately I've been doing this focusing thing with my camera, so maybe people can see things a bit more close up, but anyway, it says July/August right there. So yeah, a lot of people might not know, Nintendo Power did not start out as a monthly thing. It actually was once every 2 months. Now this one here is really ratty, because my parents actually had this issue of Nintendo Power before I was born. I've talked before about how my parents actually played games before I was born, and my mom, who actually played Mega Man 2, bought this because she thought it would help her out with beating the levels and stuff like that. So I mean, when I was born, I got into video games, I got my hands on this thing, and I just took it everywhere, read it like 5 million times, and it's gone through a bit, I have to say, although luckily it's all still here. None of the pages are missing or anything like that. But it has seen better days. But anyway, the 7th issue, so actually the first anniversary issue, since it was bi-monthly at the time, July/August 1989. And first thing you're going to notice there is the front. Now, if you look at the front of a Nintendo Power magazine today, it's just like obviously a computer-generated image and stuff like that. But back then, there wasn't like 3D video games and computers to make all the 3D effects and stuff like that. So you usually got a really neat kind of like clay displays or things like that. And they looked really cool because, I mean, you're getting to see your favorite video game characters in 3D. I mean, obviously back in 1989, there was like no 3D video games or anything like that. So overall, back then, I mean, starting with the cover, Nintendo Power was already the coolest thing. Just getting to see all your favorite characters in their 3D forms. And there's even other neat pictures and stuff we'll see as we go on. So as we go in to Nintendo Power, the first thing you're going to notice is I'm going to be looking down a lot because I don't usually write like scripts or anything for my videos. It's all pretty much just like freehand. But what's it called? This time I have written down a few pages in certain issues that we're going to be looking through, just so I can point a few things out. So hopefully this goes well, because I don't usually do things like this. But the first thing you're going to notice when we open it up, we get this really cool, colorful kind of table of contents here. And it's a huge contrast to the kind of thing you're going to see when I talk about the later on issues. Back then, Nintendo Power was really colorful, it was really fun. It was really messy. I mean, there was like pictures of things all over the place and stuff like that. It would seem like as if they were making it a lot more kid-oriented. Because, I mean, back in the day, you didn't have a whole bunch of adults going out and buying like the newest Call of Duty game for their NES. I mean, my parents were like one of the million to actually be like adults who didn't even have kids, but they actually played video games. So overall, I mean, it looks like Nintendo Power, obviously, with its lots of colors and stuff like that, and pictures all over the place. It was more oriented towards kids, because it was believed at the time that it was mostly kids who played video games, but that doesn't mean that the magazine is not fun to read or anything like that. I mean, even though video games, people thought they were oriented towards kids, I mean, they were still a lot of fun. And just as it seems like the magazine might have been more oriented towards kids, it's still a lot more fun to read than some of the things like some of the later on magazines, which it gets cleaned up a lot, so it looks more professional for a more older audience. But anyway, enough rambling on about that. Let's move on to the actual stuff that is within the magazine and not just talking about the table of contents. The first thing we're going to see is Player's Pulse. Now this is something that of course has been with Nintendo Power throughout the entire thing. It's where people send in their mail and stuff like that. They send in questions or just like comments about the magazine or about games and things like that. And the best ones get featured. Now it's always fun to read through people's mail and stuff like that in the earlier issues, because obviously people couldn't just like go to the internet and look up things. People would ask some pretty interesting questions. And yeah, so this is a very early version of the Player's Pulse. Like, it's just issue number 7. We're going to be seeing Player's Pulse changing a lot throughout the various issues that we look through. Moving on from that, we are of course moving on to one of the signature things that Nintendo Power had. And that is their guides. Nintendo Power is always very well known and loved for their like in-depth looks at games. Now these days, one of the things we're going to notice when we get to the later versions of Nintendo Power is that there's not as many guides. I mean, you don't really see like awesome maps and stuff like that of video games anymore. I mean, not because they're lazy and not putting them in or anything like that, but because of the way that games have gone 3D and stuff like that, it's not as easy to just make a nice 2D map and stuff like that. And overall, I just really like the way this thing looks. I mean, even though some of the characters look kind of silly in their quickly drawn forms, it's still just a lot of fun to look through and stuff like that. But yeah, what's it called? So just going on here. I mean, it's always fun to look at how the guides and the maps and stuff were made back then. And if I can make this focus a bit more, you can kind of see how it's just like 500 screenshots glued together. You'll see Mega Man in like every single frame and stuff like that. Let's see, I have no idea where I'm moving to here. Like, let's turn the page and see if we can see the map of Crash Man stage. And I mean, as you see, as you climb the ladder there, Mega Man is in every single frame. And that's how they made their maps back then. And I have to refix the focusing so it doesn't look blurry while I'm sitting on the couch. I mean, that is just so cool. I mean, they didn't have the technology back then, and they just really went the extra step to make all these maps, plus the information and stuff on the side. It was like every kid's dream to read through one of these and learn all the awesome tips and stuff, and then go impress your friends by just how much you knew about each game. And I mean, that's one of the things that was really missing from later Nintendo Powers, those guides, those real, like, in-depth guides, even if it wasn't of the whole game, even just like the first section. I mean, this Mega Man 2 guide is actually really good. It goes through all 8 Robot Masters. So all you really need to figure out after then is Dr. Wily's Castle. I mean, Dr. Wily's Castle isn't exactly easy for those who haven't played it before, but still, I mean, it's a very nice guide and stuff like that. And that's the kind of thing you would buy Nintendo Power for back then, to kind of help you with the games. Later on in issues of Nintendo Power, there's not as many guides. It's mostly just reviews and stuff like that. I mean, you can get that off any website. You don't need to buy Nintendo Power for a review of the game. So, I mean, maybe that's probably why some people these days might not have been too worried about it. And then again, just at the end here, you get to see the art and stuff like that. I mean, it's just really cool, even though the art's kind of cheesy. It is just, it's fun to look through, like I said. I mean, they're obviously not trying to keep, like, the most professional design, like having, like, white space everywhere and stuff like that. I mean, they're putting pictures in and stuff like that, and even, like, no matter how old you are, it's still really fun to look through. It's like a massive nostalgia trip, too. Let's see, what is next on the list? Right, one major part of Nintendo Power was always Counselor's Corner. One of those things was, back in the day, before the internet and stuff like that, there were tip lines where you'd call in, you could ask someone on the other end of the phone for help. Now, unfortunately, I mean, it costs, like, who knows how much per minute. And I guess these right here are probably just some of the most, like, popular questions they got printed into the magazine. And they were always about, like, the most popular games and stuff like that. And, yeah, so, waiting for your letters. So maybe back then, yeah, so basically, you could send in your letters with questions, or you could even call us from From 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. Wow, that opens pretty early in the morning. I remember back when I was a kid, I'd always be playing games early in the morning. It was like, I mean, I always went to bed early when I was a kid, so I always got up really early too. So I guess that's why it starts at 4 a.m. Seems like kind of a weird time. But anyway, Counselor's Corner was always one of those really cool things. On page 36 here, we have top 30. Now it's really neat because I guess this is kind of based on the sales and stuff like that, just to see what the most popular games are at the moment. And it's always just kind of fun to look through this and see what games everyone was playing back then. I always find it really neat to look through the top 30s, and I think it later became top 20 and stuff, and just see what were the most popular games back in the day. Let's see. On page 42 here, again, I mean, it's just about the art. I mean, it's not even just about the reviews or the maps and stuff like that. It's about all the effort they put in to making things look really, really cool. I mean, like pictures like this. I mean, they could have just left that blank, and I mean, people probably still would have bought the magazine for the reviews and stuff. But just the extra mile they went to make things look really cool. I mean, even the whole border around it and everything. It just looks really nice, and it makes it that much more fun and enjoyable to read. While at the same time, you're getting all the tips and stuff too. So I mean, it just doesn't really get any better than that. It's just a lot of fun to look through. It was back then, and it still is today. So moving on here, Nintendo Power has always been really cool for having like posters and stuff and then things you can take out. In this magazine here, you of course also have one of those posters. It's been in there all the way back since Nintendo Power first started, although unfortunately I can't really open it up for you because in between the poster is this really cool kind of pull-out Super Mario Bros. 2 guide. Now, I never pulled it out. I just always kind of kept it in the magazine when I read it. But it's really cool, and again, it's more of what everyone loved Nintendo Power for back in the day. Going through, reading the maps and guides and stuff like that, and it's really neat that if I wanted to, I could have pulled it out. So I kind of do have a separate thing now. This one right here goes through the first 4 worlds, even goes over 4-3 and that terrible tower that everyone absolutely hates, that you can easily skip if you jump with Luigi. Yeah, I always loved that. As a kid, I always loved the part where it points out that not even the princess, not even the princess can jump that gap. Meanwhile, I always jumped over it with Luigi's high jump, because if you hold down and then you get the super high height, you can actually make it over the gap. So it was really silly that even Nintendo Power didn't know about that. I kind of beat them there. But overall, it's just, again, one of those really cool things. I mean, they didn't have to put a cool little guide in for Super Mario Bros. 2, but they did. And, I mean, it was really neat. And really fun to read through, too, even though I didn't actually pull it out. Let's see, what else we got here next. Page 60. Another thing. Even when they didn't go super in-depth on games, since back then there wasn't internet and stuff like that, it was just really cool to kind of see what different games were coming out for the NES, because all you really had back then was you either saw it on commercial, you heard it from your friend who probably heard it from Nintendo Power, or you heard it yourself from Nintendo Power. So, I mean, again, they just make things look so much fun. So, I mean, obviously, it's like there weren't trailers and stuff back then to see the gameplay. So they had to go really in-depth on how every part of the game worked, on all the items and stuff like that. And, I mean, they did a really good job. I mean, reading, like, a preview of a game back in a really old issue of Nintendo Power, or a preview of a game in a new issue of Nintendo Power, are two completely different things. And it's just so much more enjoyable to read it back in, like, the old days, because, like I said, of all that extra effort they had to put into it, because there weren't things like the internet having, like, trailers and stuff like that, to really push the point. I mean, the only thing they had was their article in Nintendo Power, so it was just so much fun to read through. Let's see, what page are we heading to next? Yes, another thing that was in Nintendo Power back in the day. That was quite a bit of fun to read, and didn't really survive too long. I mean, it survived a few years, but even, even in the midlife of Nintendo Power, they weren't really there. That is comics. Now, in the very first issues of Nintendo Power, you would always find a Howard and Nestor comic. And what they would do is they would place Howard and Nestor in a world from one of the most popular video games at the time. So obviously this one right here, Nestor is inside of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and you can see Howard in the last panel down there. But yeah, it was just so much fun. I mean, reading through things like that, kind of like getting to see like more in depth into the game, what kind of happens behind the scenes. It's just really fun to read through. I mean, Howard and Nestor went on for quite a while, so they were in a whole bunch of different games. They had like Mario, Star Tropics, stuff like that. Just so much fun to read through. And all the different ones that they eventually came out with. We'll talk a lot more about comics and Nintendo Power too as things go on. Let's see here. Next section that I want to talk about that we will be talking a lot about in later issues too, is classified information. Now this changes so much throughout the life of Nintendo Power. Now classified information, a bit like Counselor's Corner, although instead of rather I'm kind of getting stuck here. Instead of just this is how you beat this part, this is how you beat this part, classified information usually contain more things like cheat codes or really cheap tricks in order to get by things and stuff like that. Like stocking up on weapons and Konami code and stuff like that would always be featured in things like that would always be featured in classified information, like or even tricks where you can like glitch through walls to get ahead. You'd find those kinds of things in classified information. And back when you were a kid, finding out secrets like that was the coolest thing. And I mean, that is one of the things I love about NES games, is they always had kind of secrets like that built in. Or even if there weren't secrets like that, people would find glitches that would give them an advantage. And those would show up in classified information. And it was just so much fun to read about those. So yeah, classified information was really cool, and we'll see later on, that's eventually one of the sections that was taken out of Nintendo Power. And that's also kind of the time when I didn't read it as much. Anyway, next thing we had to look at is Pack Watch. Now, Pack Watch is something that was in Nintendo Power ever since the beginning, and was pretty much in there all the way into the end. It changed a bit, but it was always a really cool way to kind of see what things were coming out, what things were out in Japan that would probably be coming here later. Of course, over here we have like the Game Boy and stuff like that, which was pretty new around this time, so you got to see a whole bunch of the games that were going to be coming out for that, which was really cool. Let's see what we have next. 89. Yes, 89. One of my favorite articles in this really old issue of Nintendo Power is showing you where the 1-ups are in video games. I mean, for the first anniversary, they had a 1-up special. Now, it just goes to show you how back then, games had a lot less 1-ups than they do now. Like, I'm playing New Super Mario Bros. 2 and I had 100 lives by the time I was done the first world. Super Mario Bros. 1 has like 10 1-ups throughout the entire game, plus whatever you can rack up through coins, which might account to like 2 or 3 more lives throughout the whole thing. Well, it depends really on it, how many cheat places you use, how many bonus games you find. Maybe a bit more, probably a lot more than 3 lives, but still. I mean, I always love this article just to kind of see how games were a lot more difficult back then, and how you had a lot less chances to complete things than you do these days. We were given so many extra tries. And back then, I mean, it was if you got game over, you were going back to the beginning. There was no go back to the last save point, which was probably like 5 minutes earlier. The last thing we're going to talk about in this issue of Nintendo Power, I mean, man, I spent so long on this this one issue, is contests. Now, Nintendo would, like, every issue of Nintendo Power ever, I'm pretty sure, had like a player's poll where you'd fill it out, you'd give feedback on stuff, and then once you sent it in, you'd be entered into a contest. And every issue, the contest was something different. Like sometimes it would be games, special edition stuff. This time it's actually a tour of Nintendo of America, which is pretty cool. But yeah, Nintendo Power was always cool for things like that, having contests and neat other little cool things. So yeah, that has been like a 10-minute talk about my oldest issue of Nintendo Power, and just kind of going over all the cool stuff that used to be in the magazine back then. And as we go on, we'll see a lot of the really neat things kind of slowly fade away, which is unfortunate. Anyway, moving on. The next thing I want to talk about, as far as Nintendo Power goes, and a lot of people might not know this, is this right here, Strategy Guide, Nintendo Power, Super Mario Bros. 3. Now, the really funny thing is that back in the day, the strategy guides were actually considered issues of Nintendo Power. If you look on the side here, right here, you'll see volume strategy guide #1, but Nintendo Power issue 13. So I mean, if you see these and you're trying to collect Nintendo Power, definitely pick these old ones up. Check the side. So that's really cool. Kind of how it wasn't only a magazine. They created guides too. I mean, I've always really loved this guide. My parents actually also had this one when I was born too, but it just got shredded. There was pages everywhere. So I found this years later, and I bought a very nice one because I mean it was always such a great guide. Felt so bad for destroying it as a kid, but I mean when you're a kid, you don't understand that. I mean you don't know how to take good care of your stuff. But like back then, we just had fun with things. We didn't think that down the road we'd actually care what shape things were in. But yeah, I've always loved this guide. And another interesting thing to note about Nintendo Power is that even today, even though they're not considered issues of Nintendo Power, they always had a hand in creating guides for usually the most popular games like Paper Mario. For instance, Nintendo Power made this guide. Although another company who always made guides back then too was Prima. And we have their logo down here. And lately, I don't think Nintendo Power has been making guides anymore. So I'm guessing that since Nintendo Power is going out of business, they're not going to be making guides anymore. And I'm guessing everything has pretty much been handed over. I always pick the wrong side to point at. Is going to be handed over to Prima. So that's kind of sad too, because usually it was kind of silly. Like sometimes Prima and Nintendo Power would make a guide for the same game. So I usually pick the Nintendo Power one over the Prima one. But I guess now Prima is my only choice. So I mean that's kind of sad too to see the Nintendo Power guides kind of phase out, since I always really enjoyed them. But yeah, so that's kind of another sad thing. So moving along, so we looked at issue number 7. We looked at strategy guide number 1, which was also issue number 13. Now the next thing we are going to look at, we're going to jump ahead just a bit, is issue number 39. Now look at this. This is just another example of, I mean, it wasn't just some like digital image that some guy made up, plastered on the front. I mean, they made a clay model of Mario over here. I'm always picked the wrong hand. Placed him on a Super Nintendo mouse and then put like the nice art and stuff in the background. Now this isn't even like the best example. I mean, there's so many really cool ones too, but just the issue I wanted to talk about happened to have this picture on the front. That just goes to show kind of the extra mile they went to make the covers really neat. And I really like that. So anyway, let's see here. Things I want to talk about start on page 6. So we open the book, and we'll still see that really cool table of contents. We also see that the Super Nintendo is only $99.99, which is pretty good for new. That's awesome. I meant to find it. One issue of Nintendo Power I have, it has an advertisement in the front, just like this Super Nintendo one. Although it's actually for the NES 2. Now, you can't see my NES 2 because I kind of moved it down so I can kind of sit back and relax while I read my issues of Nintendo Power. Like I usually do. I just grab one off the shelf and read through it every now and then because it's just so much fun to do. But yeah, can you believe that the NES 2, the top loader NES, back when it was brand new, it only cost $49.99. That's insane. If I could go back in time, I would buy up all of those and all of the Earthbounds, and then hoard them for like 100 years, and then be a billionaire. No, I wouldn't do that. Actually, I probably would. Heck, I mean, I'm not going to be able to go back in time anyway, unfortunately, but who knows, I might do something like that. If I could. Anyway, moving on, anyway, enough rambling about that. We have Player's Pulse. Again, as you can see, hasn't changed too much. A bit more pictures and stuff around the sides and stuff like that. It's just really fun to read through these things, although I'm not going to read really... I might read like one later down the road. I'm not really going to read them to the camera and stuff like that. They just sound really weird. And you have to read Player's Pulse yourself to enjoy it. But I mean, Nintendo Power people and stuff like that who, like, sometimes they would just like post your thing as you wrote it, or sometimes if it was a question addressed to them, they would reply to it, and their answer would usually always be like witty and funny and stuff like that too. To always add to the enjoyment of reading Player's Pulse. Let's see, moving on, of course we still have our guides and stuff like that, still made up of like various screenshots, which is always very funny to see. Although the first thing I want to talk about after Player's Pulse is now classified information. So it's a bit different, although still pretty much the same kind of thing. Like we're going to be looking at a lot of the different sections. And after this issue, you'll start to see things change a lot more. We got classified information and stuff like that. Of course, Game Boy games being featured now. I always pick the wrong hand. And stuff like that, which is really cool. Now, the first main thing I have to show that's different from the last one we talked about is comics. Now, last time we saw Howard and Nestor, but now Nintendo's gone all out with creating like full-fledged multi-part comics of some of their like most popular video games. Like right here, you can see Zelda: A Link to the Past, and over here, by my left hand, you can actually see it's Chapter 8. So I mean, you would want to buy every issue of Nintendo Power, have a subscription to continue reading these comics. Now, it's actually really neat because I mean, they don't always follow the games, and they introduce characters and stuff that weren't in them. So even if you played the games, you knew it like the back of your hand. The comics were still a lot of fun to read through. I mean, the stories were actually usually pretty well done, and overall, very colorful, nicely done pages that were just a lot of fun to look at and stuff like that. So yeah, overall, it was really neat to be able to read through these comics back in the day. Let's see, so moving on from that, we're going to talk about things like the guides again, or even not necessarily the guides, like the previews of games, just the detail that they went into and stuff like that, showing all the different items that you got, just like really putting everything they had out there to try and convince you that it was an awesome game, because they didn't have all the other things back then to aid them like they do now. So I mean, the only really thing that was going to convince you to buy it was either Nintendo Power made it look good, there's a chance you'd go out and get it. If Nintendo Power made it sound crappy, there was no way you're going to go get it. This is also back before Kirby was pink. It's kind of like a, what's it called, kind of white there. And that's also before when he swallowed enemies, he gained attacks. So, I mean, I guess he was pink here. But he wasn't like pink like he is today. And this is also back in the day in Kirby's first thing. What's it called? Back before when he swallowed enemies, he got their power-ups. Anyway, moving on from Kirby, because obviously I'm getting tongue-tied talking about him. We are going to move on to page 58. And we're going to talk about Summer CES 92. Now, it was really cool back in the day, like things like E3, or obviously before there were things like E3, or before it was even called E3. All these cool video game events would take place, and there's not the internet for you to go and watch like the live stream of the press conference stuff, and stuff like that. You would want to read Nintendo Power to figure out about all of the new cool games that were announced. I mean, you read about things like this. You have to see all the people gathering around playing the games and stuff like that. It's just overall really cool to see what kind of events and stuff took place back then. It's overall a lot of fun. So let's see, let's change the page there. And we are greeted by a Super Mario Brothers comic. So obviously this is another one, just like the Zelda one, multi-part. Obviously kind of based off of Mario World and stuff like that. And that's not really the end down there, like it says in the corner. It's not the end. But I mean, overall, they're just so funny and so much fun to read through. And it's just kind of neat to see what people thought of back then, for comic ideas back in the day. Here we have Counselor's Corner, still hanging around. Pretty much the same idea as before. Layout changed just a bit. And then you have advertisement down there in the corner. If you're flustered with your game, call this guy, and he'll for some reason know how to help you. I mean, I guess they had what's it called? If you've watched The Wizard, the movie The Wizard, they call in for help with all the games. I mean, they call in for help for like every single NES game ever, and then he ends up playing Ninja Gaiden. I mean, it's like, you wasted all that time and money so he could go and play Ninja Gaiden. Which, like, the hints, who knows if they even helped him anyway. But I mean, it's just kind of funny back then to see, like, if you need help with this game, call this number and we'll try to help. It's really funny. So let's see, page 82. So there is the first time, ever since the beginning of Nintendo Power, they have featured pull-out posters. Now, some sides will feature like massive kind of pull-out maps and things like that, and then the other side will usually feature a poster from one of the video games, like this one here is Felix the Cat. But I mean, of course, they've had Mario posters, Zelda posters, Mega Man posters, Star Tropics posters, a whole bunch of cool things. So I mean, I don't feel like ripping them out of all my Nintendo Powers. Plus, I don't really have the wall space. But I mean, you'd see people with them all over their wall, and it looks really nice when they're all together. Let's see, moving on. Another thing I want to point out, Mario Paint preview again. Only place you would really hear about it is here, and you got all this in-depth look on just how cool Mario Paint is. I mean, heck, they could have taken E.T. and made it look cool, the way that the people of Nintendo Power are just so good. I mean, telling you everything about the game and how much fun it is and stuff like that. I mean, who knows, if Nintendo Power gave E.T. like a good review and went into all the items and stuff like that, maybe people would have liked it a bit more. Or maybe they just would have realized how bad it was and not bought it like people did. But yeah, overall, just really silly stuff. But I mean, it's still a lot of fun to read. So let's see, moving on. We of course have, I believe the next thing I want to show, another Howard and Nestor comic. And this one, we have Nestor talking to Guile on some absurd like TV talk show. Like, I don't know, it's really silly, but really funny at the same time. Now, one section we have is Now Playing, and it's about these two guys, whether they're just fictional guys or they were actually two guys who sat there and talked about the games. I have no idea. But they kind of took some of the games that were coming out at the time, and it gives a description, and then it gave kind of each of their opinions on the game. And it's always been kind of weird to read through, I don't know. It's not the most exciting section, although it is kind of a neat way still to see some of the new games that are coming out. And let's see. last thing that I want to talk about with this issue is now, just like I was saying before, it was top 30, but now we have moved down to top 20. So I mean, obviously they don't have as much room anymore because they had to introduce a section for the Game Boy and also Super Nintendo, unlike back in 1989 when it was all just NES. So still, it is really neat to see what people were buying and playing at the moment. Another thing about this issue is over here on the right, I guess you'd like send in your information, and if they thought you were cool, you were playing cool games, they'd feature you and like a picture of you in the Nintendo Power. And then also over here, each issue interviewed a celebrity who played video games. Here we have Fresh Prince Will Smith, obviously, from his greatest movie ever, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. No, that wasn't the movie. But I do love the show. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is actually an awesome show. And they still show reruns of it today, which is awesome. And then Pack Watch, again, which you will see many times throughout the videos, where they talked about different games that were coming out in the near future. Oh, and then one more thing. Pack Watch, they showed a lot of main ones. And then also on the left here, they showed a whole bunch of different games too. Now let's fix the focus here. Now, as you'll see here, like NES games coming in soon, like Ace Harding, Lost in Las Vegas. Well, that never came out. Or, what's it called? I'm pretty sure there was even another game here somewhere. That didn't end up coming out, but it is funny, kind of, sometimes they even do, like, big articles about it, and I always forget to change the focus back, where they talk about, like, in-depth, they do, like, in-depth talking about games, and they never end up coming out, so it's kind of interesting to go back and read through that to see what the games were going to be like that never ended up being released. Anyway, I think that's about it for issue number 39. And this is going on for quite a long time, and I need a drink. But yeah, overall, so far, hopefully you've seen just how different Nintendo Power is back then than it is today if you've read a Nintendo Power issue recently. The next one we were going to talk about is volume number 75. Now, no one's going to be able to see that because it's so far away. I actually don't know why I have to show the side, but I'm doing it anyway. It is volume 75, just so people believe me. People are like, nah, it's not volume 75. It's clearly reading volume, like, 20 or something. No. But anyway, let's flip this thing over here. And I'll try to make things a bit quicker. We don't need to go over too much stuff. But one thing, the first thing we're going to talk about in issue number 75, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have noticed the front here, and noticed that it is the Virtual Boy. We'll all know how that flopped, so it is kind of interesting to see just how much they praised it and stuff like that. Just to see it kind of bomb, and how they went so in depth on all the different games. Right here, as you can see, our table of, what's it called? Not our table of contents. This is now our Super Top 20. Where is the table of contents? It got kind of lost in space. Table of contents changed quite a bit here, and then after that, we have Player's Pulse. Now, at this point, Player's Pulse slowly started introducing, like, the art of, like, on envelopes and stuff like that, of, like, the letters that people were sending in, and that's really cool. I like that, kind of seeing just how artistic people are, and saying, man, I wish I could draw that good. But overall, I really like that when Player Pulse shows off the art that people have sent in. On the next page, we get to see, once again, our top 20, and also on the left here, over here, we get to see the Ultra 64. And you can see how the 64 didn't really change too much from back when it was called the Ultra 64, except the faceplate there, where is it? There, is a bit different than the final N64 one, and that would be so cool to kind of find that, like, if it didn't get destroyed or something like that by Nintendo later on. I'd love to have that Nintendo 64. That just looks so cool. Ultra 64. Although overall, Nintendo 64 is a bit of a better name than that. Let's see, so moving on to page 10. We have a massive look at the Virtual Boy, everyone's favorite portable console. That is the most easily takeable places portable console ever. I have no idea. But yeah, they go into a lot of depth. It goes from page 10 all of the way to page 29. So I mean, 19 pages. They really wanted people to buy the Virtual Boy and like the game, so it's kind of unfortunate that it never really took off. But I mean, you can't blame it. I mean, just a lot of things about it that made it not the most popular thing. And then after that, we have an awesome look at Yoshi's Island and stuff like that. which is really cool. But I mean, again, like I said, Nintendo does a really good job of making anything sound really cool. So I mean, maybe if more people had read this, more people would have really liked the Virtual Boy. But I mean, there's nothing that could have made Waterworld a good game. I mean, it was a terrible movie. So why the heck they thought they had to make a game of it for the Virtual Boy, I'll never know. It's really silly. Let's see, what do we have to go on? We're going to skip ahead a whole bunch of pages. And we are going to go to page 51, where we are going to see a new section that has not been in any of the issues that we looked at before. And that is Epic Center over here. Now, Epic Center is a section that was in Nintendo Power for quite a while, and it looks at a whole bunch of RPGs. So like right here, we're looking at Chrono Trigger and stuff like that. Breath of Fire. And they'll also look at like Japanese exclusive RPGs that they may or may not have known at the time whether they were going to be localized to North America. So yeah, Epic Center is always really cool, and yeah, it stuck around for quite a while in the magazine, and that was always fun to read through, especially if you're a big RPG fan. Let's see here, moving on to 71. We have classified information, again, a bit different, but not too much. Still giving us all those codes and cheats and stuff they want, like figuring out how to do the Mega Man X2 diagnostics test down there, if you didn't know how to do it before, and now you do. And just little neat things like that were so neat to find out about. And since internet and stuff wasn't really the most popular thing or even existed back in the day, I'm guessing at this time it probably did. I didn't have internet for a long time. All my friends had internet before me. It's actually an interesting thing to note. I always had more video games than my friends, but every single one of my friends had a computer with internet. So I was always kind of behind in that department. I didn't get internet until I was in grade 6, and that would have been like, I think it was like 2004. So yeah, as you can see, I was kind of behind on the times there. Although I always had the best games, and sometimes they didn't. Although, I mean, a lot of my friends had stuff I did too. I usually had a few more games. But anyway, there's classified information. And let's see, what the next thing I want to talk about is Counselor's Corner, which you can see looks a bit different now. Obviously, the design has changed just a bit, but still all those main things there, and it still encourages you to call in too. It also gives you, I like these down here, question and answer fast facts, where it's just a few extra things that they kind of squeezed in the corner about a few different games, which is really neat. Let's see, moving on. What's the last thing? No, two more things I want to talk about here. And one of them is Arena. Now, Arena is really cool. It's kind of where you're given a challenge, and then you have to see if you can accomplish it. So what's it called? Like, they'd say, like, get the highest score you possibly can in this game, and then take a picture of your TV, and then send the picture to us. So, I mean, getting the picture right it's terrible. I mean, think about an old camera trying to take a picture of an old TV. I mean, there's just so many things that can go wrong with that, and especially since it's not digital, you can't really go back and see if it was good. I mean, you're going to waste your whole film hoping that, like, one of those 21 pictures worked out well. Another thing they always wanted you to do was they wanted you to have the console on screen when you took the picture of your TV to make sure you weren't using, like, Game Genie or something like that. Now, if the kids were smart, they would have, like, gone to their friend's house, borrowed their Super Nintendo, used Game Genie on their Super Nintendo, put it off screen, and then put their friend's Super Nintendo where it can be seen in the picture, and then just turn it on and not hook it up to anything, and it would have tricked them into thinking that they hadn't used cheats. Now you see, I personally wouldn't have done that, but I wonder if anyone was actually, like, I don't want to say smart enough, because I mean, it's a really jerk move, but I wonder if anyone actually did that. That'd be kind of funny, but mean at the same time. Poor Jimmy didn't get his high score featured in there because some cheater beat him to it. But overall, there was interesting things like that back in the day, Arena. And then, of course, we still have Pack Watch at the back here, showing you all the games that were coming out soon. And also this one down here, about Mega Man. Now, I'm going to read this because I was, like, as I was looking through, obviously, the issues I wanted to talk about in the video, I came across this. Pack Watch exclusive, breaking news. Awesome news from Capcom USA. Capcom has acknowledged that the Super NES continues to be the choice video game system for players. As a result, the two games previously dropped from Capcom's schedule have been reinstated along with two new titles. And it goes on to talk about how Mega Man 7 and Breath of Fire 2 are coming out in October. So I'm guessing those are the two games that were dropped from the schedule. Now that's really weird. And I mean, I never knew anything about like Capcom like dropping games from the what's it called, Super Nintendo, and maybe going over the Sega, because one thing that always really confused me was, why was Mega Man The Wily Wars a Sega exclusive game when you have like Mega Man X1, 2, 3 and Mega Man 7 on Super Nintendo? So maybe, like, I don't know, like they started on Super Nintendo and then they were thinking of moving over to Genesis for some reason, and then they for some reason moved back to Super Nintendo. I have no idea. And if anyone really knows the story behind that, please post it in the comments. I mean, I'm gonna have to do some research on that and find out exactly what went on there. But yeah, that seemed like kind of an interesting thing, and I figured I'd read that for people who might not have known about that either. And anyway, that is volume number 75 of Nintendo Power. And I mean, wow, what has that been? That's been like 3 whole issues, although we talked about the strategy guide and stuff too, and it's been about half an hour. Wow. What have we got here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more issues to talk about. I think that's where we're going to end off for now. Because, I mean, half an hour video, that's going to take, like, days for me to upload on my internet connection. So, I mean, while it's uploading, I can't record any other videos. I mean, I can't record, like, a random game of the days or anything like that. So, I guess, unfortunately, there's probably not going to be anything like that this week. I really should have got this done ahead of time. But it's just been hectic lately. I've been really busy. And I've also been recording a new room tour with a friend, because he's been doing the recording and he's going to be doing the editing and stuff like that too. He's bringing over his like really high quality camera and stuff like that. So expect to see a new room tour in the near future. And that's going to be so long, it's probably going to have to be a few parts too on my internet connection. But yeah, so anyway, first 3 issues of Nintendo Power, so that's really the beginning. Things are actually going to start to get a lot different now, as you will see. As we move on. So it's probably a good time to stop. So it's probably going to be 1 more part, maybe 2, if I really start to ramble on. I hope I haven't been rambling too much. Hopefully everything I've said has been interesting information, and not just stuff that everyone's like, hurry up, and like skipping ahead in the video because you don't care about what I'm saying. But anyway, I believe that's all for this part. So thanks for watching, and I will see you later in part 2.